Oh, it's because I'm an idiot and started at B. Huh. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, let me correct this. Hello, this is Harold Halfdan, and welcome to the Minecraft Archaeology Challenge mini-series on archaeological Minecraft. I'm a former archaeologist who enjoys playing Minecraft, and in this mini-series, I've been kidnapped by Daskalos, who's a working archaeologist who created a custom archaeological site, which I'm excavating. Here's the challenge part. It wasn't just me who he kidnapped, he also grabbed YouTubers MC Oda and MillyCraft, who are also independently excavating their own copies of this custom archaeological site. Once we're all done excavating and reconstructing our sites, we'll be walking Daskalos through our site interpretations, where we'll be graded. In the last episode, I was teleported to the site, got the lay of the land to try and identify where the site's located around the base camp, performed a field survey, and started laying out our site grid. In this episode, we'll start our excavations, and well, from there, I don't know, because I'm learning as I go, just like you are, and seeing things just as you're seeing things. But here's my theory. I laid out my grid, and I have chests over here where I'll be putting all the backfill and whatnot from each grid square. As I find artifacts, I'll be replacing that artifact's location with clear glass and then put the artifact in the item frame. So once fully excavated, I should be able to have a really solid way to visualize the whole site. Also, as I go, I'll be making periodic maps and labeling different things on the site with banners so you can tell what's what from above on the map. Well, with all that setup out of the way and explanation, let's crack on and start excavating. Okay, so let's start this thing off. I think I'm going to lay some test trenches, maybe do 2 of these squares up here on this hill, on the south side of the hill, and then, if you remember perhaps from the first episode, over here by these acacia trees, you can maybe see peeking through here, through the grass. There was some actual blocks of what looked like clearly a remnant of some structure. So I think I'm going to put a couple of test trenches of some of these 10 by 10 squares over there. And then I may, once I'm finished with that, lay some test trenches over here in this very flat ground. I'm not totally sure what's there and why is that flat. So I want to put maybe those 3 test trenches, do that first. Yeah, A, B, C, D. I'm using iron just so I don't dig too quickly, but let's start the excavation. Okay, so I have a decision to be made here. So I'm gonna quick explain my thoughts here. So I removed all the topsoil, and then I've exposed this gravel. So this is a different level of stratigraphy, right? So this is a different material here. You can see that there's some, and this grass I think turned as I was removing it. So this would have been dirt, but you can see that there's dirt here as well. So I could either remove 1 block at a time and then take a map of this, or I could remove all of the 1 medium that I'm seeing to then match down to gravel. And that's what I think I'm going to do. So I'm seeing mostly gravel is the next layer down. So I'm going to remove this dirt here until I see gravel below, because I'm assuming that gravel is going to be the next strata layer. And so I'm going to keep removing dirt until I see strata throughout, instead of removing just 1 block at a time. Yep, and I'm seeing gravel there, and I'm seeing gravel there. Yeah, so it looks like dirt was the top layer, and then gravel's going to be the next stratigraphic layer down. Okay, and I'm not seeing any sus gravel here at all. Not that I can visually see, so nothing to take out my brush and start dusting. Right? I am going to leave these lines. So the grid I'm going to leave in place. So that, in theory, should, once I'm all done, you can start seeing it forming here. I should be able to see all the stratigraphic layers that I've removed by leaving all of those grid lines in place. So that's an old archaeological technique, developed I think around the 1930s-ish or so. I think it's called the Wheeler Kenyon. I think Wheeler Kenyon method, if I'm remembering correct. So archaeologists don't typically do that so much today, but I think this actually will work pretty well in Minecraft. So I'm going to leave all of these walls in place. I may end up removing the walls later, but at the end, and I can't really, I'll maybe jump up here so you can see above. So you will see, once I'm done excavating each one of these 10 by 10s, a line of the existing grid. So I'll be able to tell where the height of the original grid line is, which may be useful, so I don't want to lose that piece of data. But then I'll also visually be able to see exactly the layers of stratigraphy and how tall they were, right? 1 meter, 2 meters, etc., like that, at each grid intersection as I go down. Okay, so with that out of the way, let me maybe pop over here to what would be 6D. You know what? Actually, before I move to 6D, let me be all precise. I'll run back over here, find 5D, and I'll put everything that I've excavated thus far into 5D. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D. And now everything that I've pulled up, which is just dirt at this point, is going in this chest here. And if I need more chests, I can just keep piling one on top of the other. So that's the plan. So each one of these chests corresponds to each one of these grids. So at the end of the day, I should be able to reconstruct and see exactly how much material I've pulled out and of what type. So let me maybe do this one, and then we'll continue on. Oh, I should have put unbreaking on my shovels. Maybe I'll do that once this one breaks. Okay, so this is what is it, 6D now I've removed all the dirt from that one. You can see I've now hit the next layer, which is this gravel layer. Still no sus gravel, but I don't think I see any sus gravel here. You can see this is basically the same level, right? So even though there's less dirt over here, this is a taller stratigraphic layer, and then it dips down a little bit more. So this is why we do excavations in an organized way. I may end up taking up actually 3 of these. So let me go over to 7D, and then let me flip back over here into survival. I can load up these iron shovels so I don't have to flip back and forth as often. And let me start chopping this tree here. So I'm going to put the wood from this tree in with the rest of everything else that I've collected here, so I can tell where the tree was and what species of tree. So that'll go in 7D as well. Okay, this is 7D done. I'm going to run back, deliver this. Still no sus gravel, but it's all right. Going to run this back to 7D, and then we'll continue on. I think after this, I'm going to do the next trench, the next test trench. Let's do, so this is 11. So 11A is this one here. So 11B, 11C, 11D. So let's do 11D then. And then I'll maybe take 3 up here. So let's 11D is where I'm excavating. Okay, just to recap here, because I think I sped this along in a time lapse, if I remember correctly. That's what I was intending on doing here. So excavated at grid 11, put in a test trench at 11D, didn't find anything, just this stone. So not seeing the next stratigraphic layer up that was up on the little tell or little hill here, or you know, mound, which was gravel. So didn't see that there. So just saw kind of archaeologically sterile stone, which would be native to the area. Opened up another test trench a little closer to the tell and a little further up, just to give another view here. So this is quadrant or grid point 10G. And so in 10G, you can see where there's some world edit openings, right? You're not going to see pockets of air, obviously, in real life. But this looks like this would probably be the edge of where Daskalos did the world edit. Again, sterile stone, not any of the gravel. So it looks like, yeah, the site's looking this way. It doesn't look like probably it's here. Not sure what this flat area was. Potentially Daskalos wants it interpreted as maybe farm fields, potentially, or maybe there was a plaza. I'm not really sure. I would expect there to maybe see some artifacts. I may end up excavating these once I'm done with the tell. But it looks like, or I guess the other possibility is that Daskalos just left this open because for the reconstruction. Maybe we're supposed to leave the site as it is here, and then maybe use Lightmatica or something like that to then bring it over in this area. And if that's the case, this may be a good indication of how large the site is. So I would have to maybe look at the map to see, is this open area the same size as what the excavation maybe looks like in the tell. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to open up some trenches here at the top of the hill next to where I can clearly see some structure. So I think I maybe go, which one do I want? Maybe this one next to it. Maybe I do this one and then this one. That way I'm right next to it. And then maybe I remove this one as well. So I'll do these 3, and that'll give a good picture, because I want to see what the extent is going out this direction as well. I need to maybe open up some test trenches this way, but I think if we do these 3 in a line right here, starting maybe with these trees. So we're going to start excavating 4H. I'm going to leave this tree because it's right here in the middle. Remember, I'm leaving this grid, so I'll be digging in the shade. But you know what? Actually, before I start removing the dirt, I'm going to grab my axe, take down these trees that are within the grid, and then start removing 4H. Okay, so heading up to I, let me start removing this dirt. Oh, and look at that. We're starting to see structure. Okay, so I'm going to continue to remove this dirt. I know we're starting to see structure, but I'm going to remove this dirt, assuming that the gravel is going to be this next layer. So I should be able to either see structure or gravel. And I will be stopping at the gravel if I see gravel, and obviously stopping at the structure. But the idea here is to remove all of this dirt medium. Okay, so that's all the dirt removed from this specific. This was a highly productive grid. I actually do think I'm going to remove this tree here so I can get a clear view when I create a map of it. No more digging in the shade, but should get a better map result out of this. I'm not so worried about collecting all the saplings because that's just kind of random drops. that's not necessarily telling. There's nothing terribly archaeologically significant, obviously. If a tree's grown here and then leans this way or leans that way, I don't think that that's really a clue on what's happening below the ground, because that happened after. Oh, the other thing I was kind of watching for, but I'm not seeing here, is when you're excavating and there are roots, oftentimes, you know, those roots have to go somewhere. And so I was kind of watching for where the trees went. And this is part of why I left the grid in place too, is if Daskalos would have created, you know, and filled under the tree with a different dirt type, right? Because sometimes you see that, right? There's a root ball, and then there's those roots go different places and they branch out. And so you'll see that as, you know, a different colored soil. And so it could be that maybe there's an old dead tree, right, that used to be there. You don't see the tree today, but you see kind of where the roots branched off. Well, that may be just a natural feature, you know, or a natural different color soil, right? So that's something archaeologically maybe pay attention to, but not necessarily something that I'm super concerned with here on this side, it looks like, because it doesn't look like Daskalos changed the color of the dirt under the trees. Okay, back up. Okay, so I've excavated now these 3 down. I've removed just the dirt. I've left all of the gravel layer, right? That's the next layer of stratigraphy, right? It's the next layer as it's coming down and uncovering some architectural structures, right? So looks like potentially these are some walls. These deep slate here, potentially road or roof tile. My guess is roof tile, but I don't know. Oh yeah, so I was thinking maybe the gravel was under that roof tile, but it looks like no. So yeah, so I'm thinking roof tile, roof collapsed. And then I think I may be gonna do a couple more of these and then see if I can see the extent. Maybe I'll pull a couple trenches this way across the site here on the north side. But yeah, let me put this back and keep excavating. I don't know, I think this is pretty exciting. You know what? Actually, I think I'm going to put some trenches here, this flat area, and see if I see this as sterile or not. I think maybe that's what's next. 2F. Let me take 2F down here, and then let's see what's under 2F. Put a little test trench on this side of the hill, this west side of the hill. So in some area of the world, in some areas of the world here, these little hills would be called a tell. So you've been maybe hearing me call it a tell and then correcting myself and calling it a hill or a mound. A mound's a little different. Oh yeah, we're getting some gravel here, so it looks like the site does continue off in this direction. But a tell is usually, you find that maybe in Turkey or other areas like that. And what you see with a mound like that is over time, as the inhabitants, you know, cities get built over it, as there's destruction layers, they'll just be torn down, knocked down, and then the next city or town will just be built on top of it. So over time, you kind of get this graduated buildup of, you know, one level of city, another level of city, another level of city. So for instance, when Heinrich Schliemann, the archaeologist, if you can call him an archaeologist, but antiquarian, maybe better term at that time, excavated Troy, he found, I think it was something, I think there's like 14 or 16, I'd have to actually look it up, but there's over a dozen layers of Troy, and I think they're still finding some even today. So the Trojan War, the famous Trojan War, and the Greeks against the Trojan War with Agamemnon and Paris and, you know, Helen, all that stuff. So, but yeah, that's, you know, when they went and excavated, you know, Heinrich Schliemann just kind of went through and was looking for the level of Troy that he wanted, just dug right through and just tore up the sites, dug right through the site that he was actually looking for. Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, so let me finish taking off maybe this layer of dirt. And this will be, let's talk about this in just a moment then. Okay, let me pick up this dirt. So I think I may go down another 1 or 2. I'd like to hit sterile something, right? Either another sterile soil or like rock, like I was seeing on the other side, you know, over there. But this is interesting here. So, okay. So when you look at the strata, we were seeing before in the other grids, you know, a topsoil layer, and then we were seeing dirt obviously below it. So topsoil is that little strip, you know, archaeologically that would be one layer. And then, you know, on a regular excavation site, then you'd have this colored dirt, okay? And then we would use like, you know, a soil color chart and track this as a layer. But I was stopping at the gravel, right? But what are we seeing here? The same archaeological layer going underneath that gravel. So that probably, if I was seeing this, I would say that this is a feature. So that would mean that someone dug this out and then this dirt was infill, okay? So, yeah. So this is interesting. So that means that, in theory, this dirt, here, let me actually flip so I'm not going to punch it. This layer right here, all that I'm standing on, and this layer would date the same as what's kind of above it, okay? So that means that, like, this area would have been removed at some point in the past, and then this gravel layer was then inflowed in. So it means that this would date to this, and this then has to date to after this. Okay. Okay, let me dig. Okay, there we are. Now we're at the stone layer. I was going to do a little shovel test. I mean, normally you don't do a shovel test in a trench like this, but, you know, it's Minecraft Archaeology, so... But a shovel test normally is like a field survey technique that you use. So, you know, if you remember last episode, I kind of walked up and back looking for surface artifacts. If the ground is covered, like let's say you're in a pasture or a field and you can't actually see the dirt, you would do what's called a shovel test. And then that's maybe every 5 or 10 meters or 20, you know, 25 meters, whatever. You would then dig a hole and then, you know, go up another, whatever, 5, dig another hole, and you'd go down to essentially where you'd see sterile soil or rock like this. And then, you know, you'd pick up whatever artifacts, and that would give you kind of a picture, you know, so you'd put a lot of these shovel tests to shovel holes in. And then, and I actually probably, let me actually flip to creative real quick. I think I'm actually going to do that over, you know, I wanted to check if there was any docks or whatever. So I may actually do some of that over this area where there's maybe a harbor potentially, or out here on this peninsula where there's, I would expect to see some sort of, you know, lighthouse or, you know, fishing something maybe, or I don't know, watchtower or something. And so long story short, I may drop some shovel tests over there just to show you guys what that looks like. Yeah, my guess is, look at this slope here. So this is coming in here. I'm guessing this is come around. So maybe I want to put a shovel test. Well, no, because that's all here. Okay. I maybe want to do this one too. See what's here. Okay, maybe one last test trench. Let me flip to creative. Pretend I'm a drone for a moment, flying over the site. Okay. I think I want to do one up here. I did not do any test trenches up over here. Let's do... Let's do this one here. This one right here. Okay. 7L. Here we go. Huh. So getting some of this from the other side here. So gravel over top of the dirt. Okay, so this looks like it's the extent of the site right here. So again, this curves around. I would imagine it's going to continue along here, right? Look at the... So yeah, so I suspect I don't need to excavate these. I think basically as long as I stop here, kind of where this floating grass is, that would probably be the extent of the site over here. So we have some structures here. just to review. Okay, so I did some test trenches. I think next we're going to create some maps. Going to put map on the map board for the test trenches, and then we'll summarize what we maybe found, and then let's, I think I have a good sense of the perimeter of the site at this point. And as I talked about before, I'll probably do some shovel tests other places, but I think I have a good sense of where I need to excavate. So I'm going to do a map of the test trenches, and then after that, I think I'm going to start excavating out the grids that are open. But that's going to have to wait until the next episode, because this one's getting to creep a little bit long. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the chat and my thoughts while excavating the test trenches. Now that we're starting to see some structures in the site, feel free to put some comments in the chat on the video here about what you think those are. Thanks. Have a great day. See you in the next episode. Bye.